Hello, everyone. The weekend is here once again, and once again, I feel truly happy and excited to see you all back in our business lesson program, which is broadcast every Saturday night at 7 p.m. on the Emotional Soulmate YouTube channel. Please remember this time, 7 p.m. on Saturday, two sevens. Just go to YouTube and type the keyword Emotional Soulmate, and you will find our latest lecture, which is the business lesson program. Besides business lessons, we also have many other lectures covering a wide range of online business knowledge. In today's lesson, I want to talk about a skill, or more accurately, a habit that is incredibly powerful. For anyone doing business, if you don't have this habit, it will be extremely difficult for you to grow. That habit is reading books. As you know, in our lives, there are usually only two ways for us to learn. The first is learning through direct experience, learning from the people we meet, from what we see, and from the environments we interact with every day. Of course, this is a very good way to learn. However, what is its limitation? It is limited by space and time. You can only learn what you personally hear and see with your own eyes within a very narrow range around you. It is extremely difficult to learn anything beyond that scope. And that is why books were created to solve the second way of learning, which allows us to learn across space and time. If you don't read books, it would take you a very long time to understand how world famous companies like Toyota, Microsoft, or Google operate so that you can learn from them. How would you know? If you don't read books, you will never have the chance to learn directly from the classic works of legendary figures in the business world, such as Al Ries, Peter Drucker, or Philip Kotler, people who have influenced the global economy, business practices, and management knowledge of almost every CEO and executive around the world. They learned through books because without reading, you would never have the opportunity to meet such great minds in person. That is why the skill of reading is so important. All great things must be self-learned through books. And it is truly unfortunate for anyone in business who does not read books because you will definitely fall behind. You will never be able to keep up with the times. That is why today I'm going to show you 7 steps to develop an effective reading skill. These are 7 complete steps that I personally apply in my own life. As always, I never teach a skill that I myself have not mastered. Teaching a skill that you cannot do yourself is utterly ridiculous. That is one of my core principles in teaching. Never teach anything that you cannot personally do. For that reason, this lecture will naturally carry a subjective perspective. It reflects what has worked effectively for me. And just like always, I am my own test subject. I have practiced everything that I will share with you today, and I hope that from my distilled experience, you will gain better reading skills as well as a deeper love for books, because people who have a reading habit move forward very quickly. So, without any more long introductions, let's jump straight into the program with the 7 steps to effective reading. Now, step 1 happens before you actually read a book. The very first step is to clearly know what you need so you can choose the right book to read. Many people read randomly. They go to bookstores or online book platforms, see whatever is a bestseller or heavily advertised or placed right in front of them, and they buy it. As a result, they often end up buying books that they never read. They simply never read them. If you don't read books, it would take you a very long time to understand how world-famous companies like Toyota, Microsoft, or Google operate so that you can learn from them. How would you know? If you don't read books, you will never have the chance to learn directly from the classic works of legendary figures in the business world, such as Al Ries, Peter Drucker, or Philip Kotler, people who have influenced the global economy, business practices, and management knowledge of almost every CEO and executive around the world. They learned through books because without reading, you would never have the opportunity to meet such great minds in person. That is why the skill of reading is so important. All great things must be self-learned through books. And it is truly unfortunate for anyone in business who does not read books because you will definitely fall behind. You will never be able to keep up with the times. That is why today I'm going to show you 7 steps to develop an effective reading skill. These are 7 complete steps that I personally apply in my own life. As always, I never teach a skill that I myself have not mastered. Teaching a skill that you cannot do yourself is utterly ridiculous. That is one of my core principles in teaching. Never teach anything that you cannot personally do. For that reason, this lecture will naturally carry a subjective perspective. It reflects what has worked effectively for me. And just like always, I am my own test subject. I have practiced everything that I will share with you today, and I hope that from my distilled experience, you will gain better reading skills, as well as a deeper love for books, because people who have a reading habit move forward very quickly. So, without any more long introductions, let's jump straight into the program with the 7 steps to effective reading. Now, step 1 happens before you actually read a book. The very first step is to clearly know what you need so you can choose the right book to read. Many people read randomly. They go to bookstores or online book platforms, see whatever is a bestseller or heavily advertised or placed right in front of them, and they buy it. As a result, they often end up buying books that they never read. They simply never read them. Why? Because they skipped the most important first step of the reading process, knowing what you need to read in order to choose the right book. For me, I usually choose books based on 2 criteria. First, I read what I like the most. Of course, what I mean by what I like here is related to work, not entertainment. Sometimes you may enjoy reading a comedy book, and yes, that's something you like, but it only helps you relax. It's very difficult for it to elevate your career. In this video, I only want to talk about books that help elevate your life and your career. I won't discuss entertainment aspects here. So, when it comes to reading what you like the most, for example, if I like sales, then I look for sales books to read. Or if I love writing, then I look for books about writing and read those. Is the first criterion. Read what you like the most. Now, if you don't know what you like, then I recommend reading based on this second criterion. Read what you are worst at, what you are weakest at, but what you know is necessary. For example, you are very poor at communication. You talk awkwardly and you feel completely lost when talking to strangers. You are really bad at this skill, but you realize that if you don't improve your communication, you won't be able to go far in your career. In that case, I recommend reading based on this criterion. Remember, read what you are worst at, but what you know is necessary. So to summarize step 1, know what you need to read in order to choose the right book. We choose books based on 2 criteria. Either read what you like the most or read what you're worst at but know is essential for you. That is step 1. Step 2 is choosing and buying the book. Where do we choose and buy books? Now that you already have a topic or field you want to read about from step 1, you can go to any book-selling platform in Vietnam. You can search on Tiki, Vinabook, Aderoy, or Fahasa, wherever you prefer. Here, I'll demonstrate using Tiki. Let's say I take the example I just mentioned. Reading what you are weakest at, but know is necessary. For instance, books about communication skills. I simply go to the book website and type in the keyword communication, then click search. After the recommended books appear, scroll down and filter for books rated at least 4 stars or higher. Why do we do this? It's very simple. This helps us eliminate poor quality books or books that many people criticize. We only choose books that have been validated by many readers and are genuinely good. That is how you filter books. Scroll down and select the ones that seem suitable. For example, this one here, 39 reviews and nearly 5 stars. See? You can click in and read the description to see whether the book truly suits you. Let's say I choose this book, The Art of Communication for Success. It has a 4.5-star rating with 38 reviews. That seems quite good, right? You can absolutely buy this book to read. First, it meets the criterion of being in a field you need. Second, it is highly rated, so we can reasonably trust that it is a good book. Now we buy it, right? But what if some websites are out of stock? Then where do we buy it? You can go to physical bookstores, secondhand bookstores, or use another useful method online. Copy the book title and go to a website called websosan.h.vn. Paste the book title there and search. Look closely at the cover. Looks familiar, right? Click it and you'll see the stores that still have this book in stock. From there, you can choose a seller and buy the book you like to bring home and read. That is step 2. Step 3. After you have bought the book, we begin reading it. But the important question now is, how do we read it? Do we read from start to finish? That can be very sleep-inducing. Or do we read from the back to the front, or from the middle onward, or from the middle backward? I'm going to share with you the method that I personally use. I call it the skim reading method. Step 3 is skim reading. What is skim reading? I want you to treat the book like a dictionary. That means you open the table of contents and look for the sections you like the most, need the most, or feel resonate with you the most, and read those first. At this point, the book becomes like a dictionary you use to look up the weaknesses in your life. Wherever you feel you are weakest in a certain skill, you check the table of contents and prioritize reading those sections first. Now I'll demonstrate using the book I just mentioned. Remember, I chose this book randomly. I'm not selling anything here. And I deliberately chose a book that is out of stock to avoid any misunderstanding about advertising. Suppose the book has an introduction and several main sections. I look at the table of contents like using a dictionary. Let's say I'm currently very bad at communication. I feel awkward when talking, and I want to read this book to improve. I scan the table of contents to see which sections resonate with me and need to be read first. Introduction, Part 1, Effortless Charisma. Not sure what that means, skip. Part 2, Conversation Starters. This one I need, because I notice that when I attend meetings or social gatherings, I just sit there silently, very shy. So learning how to start conversations could help. I underline this chapter so I remember to read it. That's how reading like a dictionary works. You prioritize what you lack the most. Next, Part 3, Communicating with Influence. Not sure, skip. Part 4, How to Become an Insider. This sounds interesting because I often feel awkward in conversations. When I sit at a table, I feel like I'm being left out, like I don't fit in. Sometimes it feels lonely, sitting at a table of 10 or 11 people, staying completely silent, afraid to speak. Okay, this chapter seems useful. I underline it as well. Part 5, Creating Rapport. Don't understand yet, skip. Part 6, The Power of Compliments and Avoiding Awkward Flattery. Not urgent. Part 7, Connecting Directly to the Heart. Skip. Part 8, Attending Parties Like a Politician. Sounds boring. Skip. Part 9, Breaking the Biggest Barrier. Skip for now. So after skimming, I identified 2 chapters I truly need. Part 2, Conversation Starters, and Part 4, How to Become an Insider. I also decide to read the introduction so I can understand the author's main direction and purpose. So I prioritize 3 sections: the introduction, Part 2, and Part 4. Remember, when you skim read like this, read according to your current reading ability. Don't rush to read fast. I see many young people chasing the trend of speed reading. Honestly, many of them read fast, but when I ask what they just read, they can't remember anything. If you read fast but don't retain anything, what's the point? Please prioritize quality over quantity. Speed can come later. If you read slowly right now, that's fine. Read slowly. I prefer quality. I'd rather you understand one book than read 30 books and barely grasp any of them. Also, read physical books. Don't read ebooks. Why? With physical books, you can hold a pen, underline important parts, and interact directly with the content. With ebooks, it's very hard to focus. That is step 3, skim reading. Now we move to step 4, which I call temporary recall. After reading the chapters you find most important and useful in step 3, ask yourself a question. What did I just read? You must ask this to ensure that you actually remember something. There are 3 levels of memory related to reading skills. When you read casually, you remember very little. When you read again, a review, you remember slightly more, but it's still not very effective. The step I want you to do is recall. After finishing 2 or 3 key chapters, close the book and force your brain to remember. What did I just read? Spend about 15 minutes recalling. I guarantee that right after reading, you can still remember. This recall step helps lock the knowledge into your brain. It is extremely important. Skip this step and everything you read becomes wasted. The next day or week, you'll forget everything. That's why step 4, temporary recall, is essential. When you recall properly, you establish foundational knowledge, the parts of the book you care about the most. From this foundation, you can explore other parts of the book without getting lost. Without foundational knowledge, Advanced concepts will feel unreachable. You need stepping stones. Step 4 is one of the most important steps. Without it, you'll remember nothing. Now we move to step 5, full reading. With the foundational knowledge from recall, you can now read the entire book from beginning to end calmly and enjoyably. Underline what's good, write notes next to what you don't understand, and feel free to write directly in the book. Don't worry about making the book messy. The only thing to worry about is having an empty mind. Books don't get dirty. Minds do when they don't absorb anything. If you disagree with the author, write it down. Question them. Challenge them. Don't blindly accept everything. Not every book is completely right. That is step 5, full reading. Read slowly, enjoy it, don't rush. Now, step 6, rereading. This step is only slightly less important than recall. After finishing the book once, I strongly recommend reading it again. This time, everything, the author's words, your underlines, notes, and rebuttals. Now you are reading with understanding, not confusion. Don't skip this step or you'll forget the book quickly. Now, after 6 steps, are we done? No. The final step, step 7, is action. Without this step, everything is meaningless. All the knowledge you absorbed means nothing if you don't apply it. After finishing the book, ask yourself, what is the one thing I will do to apply what I learned? For example, after reading Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh, I immediately reviewed the work structure and salaries at Web 5 Days. I reduced workload and increased salaries by 5%. The employees were happier, more creative, and more productive. Or, when I read The Enzyme Factor, a health book, I immediately changed my diet and lifestyle, and I've maintained it ever since. Reading without action is meaningless. That's why many bookworms remain ineffective in life. They stop at step 6. The first 6 steps are useless if you don't act. That is the reading method I apply in my own life. I hope these 7 steps will change your life. When your knowledge increases, almost every problem in life becomes solvable. Life becomes less stuck, finances improve, and joy increases. Thank you very much, and see you again at 7 p.m. next Saturday on Emotional Soulmate.